Hey everyone, I'm Gary Pope from Late to the Table. In the first 50 of my top 100, it was, I guess best way to put it, I just wanted to do it differently. I just wanted to do it different, and I guess making meme videos was the easiest way I could think about doing that. So yeah, at this point, I've done 5 videos and I've already run out of ideas at this point. So we're actually gonna be talking about the next 50 of them because these are actually also games I really like and I would actually like to go in depth about. So we're gonna start with number 50, which is Jenga. I'm sorry, I had one more in me. I'm very sorry about that, but I'm not joking. The number 50 is Jenga though. Now, the thing that I like about Jenga so much is that a lot of people would put it off as a super classic game where it's one of those games where you wouldn't exactly put it amongst games that are around nowadays. But the thing is that Jenga is just still such a fun game, no matter who's playing it. I mean, especially if you get giant Jenga. I have a giant Jenga in my basement right now. It's just a great outdoor game to have. It's like you throw it outside in your backyard when people are over and you just have fun for hours out there playing Jenga. But the funny thing about Jenga is I thought Jenga was way older than it is. The game only came out in 1983. I don't know why. I always thought Jenga was like a 1800s to early 20s game or something like that. But yeah, Jenga is my number 50. Classic game. Can't go wrong with Jenga in my opinion. And that's Jenga by Leslie Scott and it's being published by Hasbro. And next up on the list is number 49, which is Tragedy Looper. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is by Back of Fire. And it's published by Z-Man Games and it's published in 2011. But Tragedy Looper is a fantastic game where people are it's a 3 versus 1 game in which there's a mastermind who's basically trying to make something horrible go wrong in the world. And then there's these 3 detectives, time traveling detectives in other words, that are trying to stop whatever bad thing that's going on. And the game is played by just playing cards on a board and you're trying to manipulate different people to go to different areas. And depending what areas they go to, they'll activate different abilities. They'll trigger traps or what have you, or different events that can go on. And what's happening is that the 3 people that are not the mastermind, the 3 detectives, they slowly are figuring out what's going on. And once something bad that triggers that wins the game for the mastermind, then the game resets and then the detectives try it again. So they're further understanding what's triggering the game to end. And also they're also figuring out what are some good things, what are bad things that happen in the game. It's a fantastic game. It's by far, in my opinion, the best game to use time in it out of all games ever played, including even Time Stories. But it's such a clever game. It's the only thing that makes this game not get to the table more often is that it's a bear to teach. But besides that, it's such a good game. I think more people should actually try it out. I feel like if it wasn't because of the art style, which it is anime, I feel like a lot more people have gotten into this game. But Tragedy Looper, my number 49, highly recommended. Now on to number 48, Arkham Horror LCG, which is made by Nate French and Matthew Newman, and is published by Fantasy Flight Games in 2016. Now, Arkham Horror LCG is a living card game, obviously with the LCG part of it, in which you could go out and buy pre-made decks. There's no booster packs or any random decks you could buy or anything like that. And you're basically creating and you're building your deck building essentially, kind of. And there's restricted rules because you can get stronger as you play games. But what makes it so cool is that it's a deck building game. And it's kind of like you can almost think of it as like if you was to be building your own Magic deck and etc. But it's being made for a campaign game, so it's not made to be competing against other players. It's made to be competing in a like a dungeon crawl, I guess is another way to put it. But these campaigns are actually very interesting. They changed drastically, not that drastically, but it changed a good amount throughout all the different campaigns that are out there. They're a lot of fun, and you can play with other people and you level up as you play the campaigns and your decks get stronger but also weaker at the same time. So it's a really nice balance that they have in there. So it's not like over time your deck is just that stupid strong compared to everyone else. It's like, no, it did get stronger in ways, but it did get weaker in other ways. So it's just a very fascinating game. It's one of the more, I guess you could say, it's one of the better LCG sort of games. There's not that many games that there's not that many card games out there nowadays that really grab my interest, like Magic card games, like where you have to buy boosters and buy decks and all this other stuff. But the Arkham Horror LCG has really gotten my interest compared to other ones, so I definitely would highly recommend it. So that's number 48, Arkham Horror LCG. Number 47 on the list is going to be Dominant Species by Chad Jensen, and it's published by GMT Games, and it came out in 2010. Now, Dominant Species, it's a area control Euro style game where it does a lot of different things. Best way to put it is that it combines some of the best things in Agricola, and it combines them with some of the best things from like Comet, which you'd think that this would be way up farther on my list. But I think the only things that makes this at 47 is that I played this game a lot, and the replay value for this game goes down because there's not that many new things that pop up after a while. But anyways, let's get back into the game. Dominant Species, fantastic game. If you like, if you're trying to get Euro players into trying to play more dudes on a map style games, introduce them to Dominant Species, and hopefully they're fine with the aggressive play in the game. If you're trying to get more dudes on a map styles people to get into more Euro games, bring them Dominant Species. This is like the game that fuses people together, in my opinion, which is why I liked it so much at one point. I mean, I still do like it a lot. It's 47 out of all the games I like. But Dominant Species is just that perfect fusion of two very different categories. And it just does it so well. It's not like it kind of does it in either category. It full out goes it in both categories. It's an extremely aggressive game to play. And it's also an extremely deep and thought-provocative Euro game too as well. So it's couldn't recommend Dominant Species enough. The only reason why it's number 47 is because I played it a lot. And while the replay value is there, like, well, I mean, I played a lot. I played the game probably maybe, I'd say at least 15, 20 plus times. It's just diminishing at this point because there's not much I'm getting out of it. But up until then, like, I wouldn't have been shocked if I played this game under 15 times. This would be in my top like 15 easily. But anyways, that's number 47, Dominant Species. Now number 46 on the list is going to be Scythe by Jamie Stegmaier, published by Stonemaier Games and created in 2016. Now, the funny thing with Scythe is the exact opposite of Dominant Species, where this would be higher up on my rank if I played it more, actually. But what Scythe is Scythe is another one of those games where it's a fusion of a lot of different mechanics, but it's, if you want to cut it dry and simple, it's mostly a dudes on the map, action control. Yeah, what would you sum this game up? It's an area control game, best way to come up with, I guess. But what's so cool about Scythe is just that how everyone has these very different player boards in which everyone has a slightly different player board, which is just so slightly different that makes a huge difference in everything. But it's just one of those games where it just keeps giving. There's a whole bunch of replay value in the game. There's a whole bunch of different things that keep happening in the game. There's a whole bunch of different setups. I mean, there's obviously people that have thought of the best ones that they've noticed so far and the strongest ones. But besides that, there's just a whole bunch of things to learn in this game. It's just one of those, it just keeps giving every single time you play it. And it doesn't hurt that there's a ton of expansions, especially the new one, which I still have shrink wrapped, which is, I can't remember the name of it, brain fart. It's not coming to me, but you can have to play as a campaign game, so you can then play. I think it's he has a setup so you can play 10 times, if I'm not mistaken, or 12 times, and you can then do a campaign with people. So it's just, can't wait to try that out. But yeah, Scythe, like I said already, I would be playing Scythe. I would have Scythe ranked higher if I actually played it more. So that is number 46, Scythe. Number 45 is going to be Kitchen Rush, made by Evangelos Bakiatakis and David Turkowski. It's made by Artipia Games and it's published in 2017. I'm butchering these names. But Kitchen Rush is a, have you ever played the video game Overcooked? It's the board game. And to explain to people that don't know what Overcooked is a co-op game which everyone is a cook in the kitchen. and you are working together to get these meals prepared. And everything's in real time, so you have sand timers that control all your actions. So you basically will turn a sand timer on, and you can't move that sand timer to perform a new action until the sand obviously goes all the way down. And then once it's all the way down, you can then flip it and put on a new action and do that new action. These actions are things such as like collecting vegetables from the freezer, cooking things, cleaning plates, collecting orders, and stuff like that. But Kitchen Rush is such a fun game. There's only 2 flaws in the game, in my opinion. One, the game is way too hard. It is way too hard. I was playing a game where it was me and 3 of my friends. We all had the rules down. No one was doing any of their jobs slow. We're all doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And it was just literally impossible to finish the first mission and get everything we need to do on the first mission. It was impossible. It was like, we got like really close, but we just couldn't do it. And now it's just the first mission on easy mode. So it's like, wait a second, and they expect you to do everything on the harder modes. And then besides that, it's just a little bit of annoying to set up every single time you want to play the game. And the games are pretty quick, so it's not that bad, but it's also not that great either, because when you compare this to other games like real-time games like Magic Maze, I could take Magic Maze out of the box and have it set up in about 30 seconds. And I could teach new players how to play, and we could start playing in 30 seconds. To do the exact same thing with Kitchen Rush, it's to pull everything out of the game, take all the pieces out of the box, separate them, organize it, have it all set up in the exact same way, make sure it's for the certain right player count. And just over time, it's like, is it worth doing this setup over a game like Magic Maze? So that's the only problems I have with the game. But besides that, it's a fun game. I highly recommend it. Number 45, Kitchen Rush. Number 44 is going to be Funemployed, made by Anthony Conta, and it's now produced by Mattel. Ooh, didn't even know that happened, even though I'm happy to on the paper. But Funemployed is a fantastic party game, because what it is that, like most party games where you are trying to get the point from the judge, in this one, the judge has a position, and they're the employer, and they're hiring someone for that position. Let's say, for example, if I am a cook and I'm looking for another cook to join the kitchen, and everyone else is applying for my job as a cook. So everyone then also gets these trade cards as well, and they have to use those trade cards in their, I guess you could say, interview to become a cook, no matter what those things say. So they could be completely random, they could have nothing to do with cooking at all. And that's what makes this game so fun, is that you just have people trying to apply to these random jobs with these random trades, and they try to make them work, and it's just improv at its finest. This game obviously depends on the group. You can have a horrible time with this game if everyone in your group just doesn't like improv, or just doesn't like being put on the spot to make jokes and try to be funny. But if you're in the right group with the right people, hilarious game, works all the time. But definitely a fun one. Funemployed, number 44. And number 43, I have Raw, made by Rainer Knizia, and is published by Windrider Games. It's made in 1999. Now, the version I have is if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's the new version, where the little red thing isn't as big as the other ones. It doesn't make as much of a noise. But what Raw is the essential bidding game. What it is that every round we're going to be pulling a random thing out of a bag and adding it to I guess you could say a gallery, or a display of other things we're going to be bidding on. And then once someone feels that we should start bidding on those items, we're going to start. Someone says Raw, and they put the little token thing down. That's what they do on their turn, is declare Raw, which means we're all starting to bid on these things now. Now, you have just these little sundials. You only have 3 of them, and they range from the numbers, I think 1 through 16 or something like that. My brain's having a brain fart moment at this point. But and everyone has 3 of these things. So you can have 1, 9, and 12 or something like that. Everyone has a pretty even number to start the game. They're close enough that no one has an unfair advantage at first. And you're basically bidding on the things. Now, the things are just points, and they're like, they're set collection things, like, oh, whoever has the most, the highest number of these blue ones, whatever, gets points. And there's other various things, but that's all the game really is. All it is just bidding on these things that give you points and set collections. And you just have these 3 tokens in front of you that you can use for bidding. And everyone knows what everyone has, and that's the entire game. Now, it sounds like it would be the dullest game ever, but it is such a cutthroat bidding game that I love it. If there's one thing you should understand about me, is that I love anything that has a high amount of player interaction, especially cutthroat, and I love that. And that comes in this game in spades. I love Raw for that. So that's number 43, Raw. All right, number 42 is Beyond Balderdash, made by Paul Tony, and it's published by Hasbro Games. It was made in 1993. But Beyond Balderdash is the quintessential party game. It's the most old school party game, well, one of the most old school party games out there, in which all you're really doing is that almost kind of like how if you ever played Jack.tv, anytime there's a bunch of games that replicate this, where someone has a question and they have a sheet of paper and they have questions and they can pick one of them, and they know the answer, and they have everyone else, they say the question to everyone else, and everyone else can write their fake answer to that question, and then you had to write the real answer to that question, and you're all going to throw them all into a bin. And these are all things that people usually do not know. I mean, sometimes in rare cases, people might actually know what these things are, but in most cases, you don't know these things because they're just that random. So what makes it so funny is that this allows for a lot of opportunities for these answers to either just be really funny, or, well, it could be multiple 2 things. It'd be one, really funny, really clever, so it matches, it's close, but it's not it, or just both, which that's the funniest combination you can have by far. And Beyond Balderdash, man, honestly, it wouldn't be so high up here if I didn't have some of the funniest gaming moments I've ever had in my life playing Beyond Balderdash, which means that it's one of those games that just brings it out in people, which is why I love it so much. But Beyond Balderdash, I love it. If you see it on the shelves at your local Goodwill, definitely grab it. It's a classic. It should be on everyone's shelves, in my opinion. But yeah, number 42, Beyond Balderdash. Number 41, Panic on Wall Street by Britton Ronay, and is published by Marabunta in 2011. Now, Panic on Wall Street, the thing about this one is that the way the game works is that there's everyone's on their own team, but there's 2 different types of players. There's the stock owners, and there's also the people that actually just bid, the actual stock investors. Yeah, the investors, that's what they are. Now, what everyone's trying to do is that they're trying to have the most money at the end of the game. Now, the stock owners are trying to convince people to actually buy their stock. And as people buy their stock gains in value. They get more money because more people have their stock, and people had to pay them more money to actually have their stock. While these stock investors, they're just trying to get lucky, I guess, in the whole stock action phase that happens afterwards. Depending on the stock that they bought, hopefully their stock goes up in value to the ones they bought, so that then they made more money in the long run. But this game is just the most hectic game you could play with a group of people, because it's just, people will say that they hate this game because it's just 10 people shouting at each other. And yes, that's what it is. And because of that, I love it. It's not a game you're going to play every week. By far, not even close to a game you're going to play every week. I like to play games where you have to talk to people and discuss things with people, like Werewolf and all this other stuff. But this is one of those ones where it's like, it's not as clever. You don't have to be clever. This is just random, funny, kind of being goofy, kind of talking back and forth with people. So it doesn't have the staying power, but it is still a very funny game. It's definitely one of those ones where I enjoy playing. This is a game which I try to play at least like once to twice a year, every year. But that's definitely a fun one to check out. Number 41, Panic on Wall Street. But that's going to end this video. Thank you for checking out, going through 50 through 41, and we'll definitely see you next time. See you.
Okay. Hello?
Gary, it's Dan.
Dan?
Dan!
Dan.
Listen. What was that? What was that? Rick rolling? What is it? 2001? What's going on? You are making a mockery of this entire process. It's an absolute disgrace what you're doing. An absolute disgrace, Gary. There's no two ways about it. I could have done so much bad on this top 100 video if Tom had just asked me. But no, it's going to be Gary Pope. Oh, Gary Pope. Well, I tell you what, Gary, he's going to be regretting his actions now. Oh, yeah, he'll be coming back to me. He'll be crawling back to me with his tail between his legs with that Tom Vassell. Yeah, Gary Pope top 100. Who even cares what your top 100 is?